The president went to the back of the gaggle and said, okay, you got about 5 or 6 minutes, go. And he kind of worked his way around the room. And there were lots of really interesting things that were said. And I will give you all of that in the next segment before we pick up with Matt Continetti at the bottom of the hour. We will be, of course, talking about this summit and the stakes at play with Matt Continetti. We will also talk about D.C. home rule. There's news on that front, by the way. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, dropped a 2-page order last night ordering the District of Columbia to end its sanctuary city status and cooperate with federal authorities. Immediately, do not pass go, do not collect $200, done. Brian Schwab, the district attorney of the District of Columbia, said, we don't like that. You're endangering our citizens. We're going to sue you. It's madness on the left right now. More ahead on this edition of the Hugh Hewitt Show. Dwayne Patterson in for you. Stick around.
Hold it right there. I'm back from vacation. Not really. I pre-recorded this on Friday. It's my Relief Factor segment because I take Relief Factor with me on vacation just like I take it every day on this program. And we're going to remind you every hour, even when I'm out on vacation, that Relief Factor does indeed work. If you take it every single day, you will feel much better because it works with your body's anti-inflammatory system to reduce the minor aches and pains that come with exercise and aging. You should be doing the former. You're definitely doing the latter. Every day, Relief Factor means more and more to a comfortable life. Stop using the over-counter meds. Try it the old-fashioned way. Icarian curcumin with Veratron Omega. And the starter pack, $19.95, gets you 3 weeks of Relief Factor. You take 3 on the first day, every day for the first week, 2 on the second week, every day on the second week, and then 1 on the third week, and then forever after. 1-800, the number 4 in the word relief, 1-800, the number 4 in the word relief, or visit their website, relieffactor.com. Find that starter pack for $19.95, less than $1 a day at relieffactor.com.
That is a brand new Goose album. Now, Goose is my band of choice these days, and this is the second studio album they've released in about 4 months. It's phenomenal. I didn't know this was coming out. So I get to hear all this stuff for the first time, along with you. It's called Chain Your Dragon. But that's not why you're here. You want to know what was said on Air Force One by Donald Trump, doing some messaging, giving some signals. Because you have to understand how these Air Force One gaggles go, especially when he's on his way to a sit-down with somebody big. In this case, going to Alaska to meet with Vladimir Putin. Everything that Donald Trump is saying to the press, he knows is being piped in to the plane that Vladimir Putin's on and translated so that he can hear what's going on. So they're talking at each other through the media from 2 different planes careening towards each other. It's actually pretty remarkable. So after speaking with Brett Baer in the president's office on Air Force One, he went back and spoke to the rest of the pool, the rest of the gaggle in the back of the plane. And the fun part about this, as you watch these clips on the Salem News Channel, is over the president's shoulder, while he's looking at the press corps, you can see Brett Baer in the background poking his head out, looking back to try to glean any new information. It's just, this is really kind of like the nerd prom of DC pundits. It's pretty interesting how all the backstory goes. Anyway, here's what Donald Trump had to say on what he expects and if Putin's not serious, what he's going to do. Cut number 15.
You had said earlier this week that Putin would face severe consequences if you get the sense from him that he's not interested. What do you mean by that?
Economically severe. Yes, it will be very severe. I'm not doing this for my health, okay? I don't need it. I'd like to focus on our country, but I'm doing this to save a lot of lives. Yeah, very severe.
Very severe consequences if Putin's not serious. Remember earlier in the week, Donald Trump said to another gaggle, how long before you know this is going to be a good thing or not? And Donald Trump said, 2 minutes. I will know within the first 2 minutes if Vladimir Putin is serious or not. And he'll walk. That's what he told Brett Baer. He would walk. More Donald Trump from the gaggle. Cut number 16.
What will make a success of this summit today?
I can't tell you that. I don't know. It's there's nothing set in stone. I want certain things. I want to see a ceasefire. This is not to do with Europe. Europe's not telling me what to do. But they're going to be involved in the process, obviously, as will Zelensky. But I want to see a ceasefire rapidly. I don't know if it's going to be today, but I'm not going to be happy if it's not today. Everyone said it can't be today, but I'm just saying I want the killing to stop. I'm in this to stop the killing. You know, we're not putting up any money. We're making money. They're buying our weapons, and we're sending them to NATO, and NATO's sending us big, beautiful checks. But that I don't care about that. I care about it was a big factor when Biden spent $350 billion and got nothing. But what I do care about is they lost last week 7,011 people were lost, almost all soldiers. 36 people in a town which got hit by a missile, but over 7,000 soldiers. It's crazy.
So Donald Trump is really a humanist at heart here. He really wants the killing to stop. He's not trying to do anything else to distract from his elected goal, which is to run the country and reverse a lot of the damage Joe Biden and previous administrations have done. He is singularly focused on making this country an economic superpower again. And he's well on his way to doing so. We had retail sales numbers that came out, and the American people are spending a little bit more than they spent the last couple of months. They seem to be pretty confident. They seem to be pretty excited about what the future holds. And they're spending money. They're buying things. The economic engine is healing right now. So Donald Trump that's his main focus. He also doesn't like it when people are getting killed wholesale in slaughtered fashion. And that's why he wants this thing to end. That's why he's willing to come here to try to find a deal if there can be a deal. Cut number 18, talking about Vladimir Putin.
In-person meeting.
Look, he's a smart guy. Been doing it for a long time, but so have I. Been doing it for a long time. And here we are, we're president. That was much more difficult than what I'm doing today, believe me. So we get along. There's a good respect level on both sides. And I think, something's going to come of it. I noticed he's bringing a lot of business people from Russia. And that's good. I like that because they want to do business, but they're not doing business until we get the war settled.
See, that's the thing, that as they were flying there, it was going to be a one-on-one. And then news leaked that Vladimir Putin was bringing a bunch of Russian business people. Maybe as many as 100 Russian business people were on the Russian plane as well. And so the press was starting to reinterpret what the summit was going to be about, and maybe that Putin was going to say, well, let's not worry about the war so much. Let's do business, because I know you're a business guy, Mr. President. Let's do business. Let's do a trade deal. Let's do this. Let's do that. And Trump would be willing to do a trade deal with Russia. I'm sure he would be willing to do something and talk about business and opportunities for both nations, but not until the war stops. And if Trump holds on to that principle that we're not going to talk about anything until the war ends, and we resolve this in a way that Ukraine's happy about and Europe is happy about. Once we get that done, then we can talk business. And if Putin doesn't go along with that, Trump's going to say, okay, mount up, let's go home. And we're going to pack up the plane and go. Let's try and get one more cut in before the break. Cut number 19.
Business. We have the hottest country on earth. We have the hottest economy on earth. We have the hottest country. We just set a new stock market record again. We have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing in from tariffs. We're the hottest. We were a dead country, dead like doornails, a dead country. 1 year ago, we were dead as a doornail, and now we have the hottest country. And he wants a piece of that because his country is not hot economically. In fact, it's the opposite. And China's not doing well economically, but we're all, look, I want everybody to do well. The war's got to stop and the killing's got to stop.
He's right. We do have the hottest country in the world right now. As I'm looking at the stock market, we're within a whisper of having an all-time high close today. I don't know if it's going to or not. It's up over yesterday, and it's flirting with another all-time high. The S&P had an all-time high. There's lots of good things going on in this country economically, and Trump's right. Vladimir Putin wants a piece of it. He doesn't want the sanctions to hit Brazil. He doesn't want the sanctions to stay on India because it's going to squeeze whatever's left of the Russian economic engine, which is their energy exports. Wayne Patterson in for Hugh. It is a Friday, and we usually are pretty fortunate on Fridays, being that we are joined by America's finest pundit. That would be Matt Continetti of the Free Beacon, the Free Press, Commentary, the American Enterprise Institute. I mean, the guy is busier than Marco Rubio, if that were possible. Matt Continetti, welcome back to the Hugh Hewitt Show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Dwayne. I think I need a few more jobs before I can top Secretary Rubio, but
how
I'm working on it.
How about Chief of Police of District of Columbia?
Yeah, it's open, I hear.
I think it is. My guess is you would understand the chain of command better than the current police chief.
The current occupant, yes. That wasn't that eye-opening moment when she could not answer what the chain of command
She was clueless. I mean, not even just she verbally couldn't answer the question. Her body language. She turned and walked away. She couldn't do it. She just walked away. It was remarkable.
I think that's what happens when you name the chief diversity officer to the commissioner's post rather than someone who knows law enforcement through and through.
We'll get to the D.C. home rule and what's going on there and Pam Bondi and all that kind of fun stuff because it's a fun story. We'll get to that in the next segment, but I want to spend this segment on the summit because that's what everybody's talking about. That's the big news going on right now. Before you came on, in the last couple segments, I played a lot of the president's gaggle on Air Force One, including his comments to Brett Baer on Air Force One that if Putin's not serious, I'm going to walk. He's either going to end this thing and he's serious, or I'm done. I'm going to pack up the plane. We're going to go home. I walk. I'm not going to do a bad deal for the sake of doing a deal. First question: do you believe him, Matt Continetti?
I do, because we've seen Trump do this before. In 2019, he had his last meeting with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. Kim and Trump got along famously well before that meeting, but the North Korean dictator would not give up any concessions to his nuclear program. And so Trump left. He left the meeting, and that was the end of that part of the negotiation. We've also seen it in Iran, Dwayne, where President Trump has been very consistent. No nuclear enrichment for Iran. And when Iran refused to budge, that's when he sent in the B-2 bomber. So I think Trump's line heading into the summit today is, I want a ceasefire. Ukraine wants a 30-day ceasefire. I want a ceasefire with Russia, and if I don't get it, then there will be consequences.
Look, Lord knows the number of people that have criticisms of how Donald Trump has conducted one foreign policy, and specifically how he has handled Russia vis-a-vis Ukraine is long and storied in the number of people complaining about it. If you were a foreign policy advisor right now over the last, say, 3 to 6 months, could you have imagined a scenario any better, or how the president has played this to squeeze Vladimir Putin enough with sanctions on India and tariffs on Brazil and signing the EU deal to export LNG and replace Russian energy to Europe? All these steps, could you imagine anything else more constructive to drive Vladimir Putin at least to the negotiating table today?
I think it's been a very effective strategy, Dwayne, and I think that Trump enters today's summit with a lot of leverage over Vladimir Putin. It really began in the spring after Putin would have these conversations with President Trump and then continue to bomb Ukrainian civilians on a nightly basis. Trump began to feel as though he was being played. Then you had a very successful NATO summit where the NATO countries agreed to spend 5% of their economies on defense. You had Operation Midnight Hammer, a display of American military might taking out the Iranian nuclear program. I noted today that when Trump greeted Putin on the tarmac, and we're seeing it now, I think, on Salem TV, the B-2s flew overhead, a reminder to Putin that he's in America and of American military power. That was very calculated. You see it. So Trump has done all of that. Then he agreed to sell weapons to the NATO allies that would then be transferred to Ukraine. That's not us giving the weapons to Ukraine. That's us making money off foreign military sales that will then help Ukraine defend against Russia. And finally, you have these secondary sanctions. First on India, you mentioned Brazil. India is particularly important because it's a Russian ally. This is how Trump has put the squeeze on Putin. This is why the two are meeting in Alaska today.
I agree 100%. We will be back after the break with a lot more with Matt Continetti. Stick around. Dwayne Patterson in for Hugh. More from the summit, more on what's going on in D.C., rejoined by Matt Continetti of AEI and Commentary Podcast this morning, which was really good, and the Free Beacon and the Free Press, all sorts of media on the right. And I want to just kind of finish up on the Russia thought, and then we'll shift to D.C. The White House seems to be trying to manage expectations for what is going to come out of today's summit. They're hopeful, they're hoping for the best, but they aren't really predicting it's going to be the biggest, baddest summit of all summits. Is that a safe assumption, do you think? Or what does your gut tell you where this is going to go? Do you think there's going to be a surprise later today when they pop out after 6 or 7 hours? Or is this just going to be kind of a nothing burger?
I really don't know, Dwayne. My hope was that Putin is worried enough about the potential economic penalty of continuing the war that he does agree to a ceasefire. I think if he does come out of this with the ceasefire announcement, it's important to look at what sort of ceasefire. If it's a partial ceasefire limited to the air, that's very good for Ukrainian civilians, and I would be happy to hear it. But we'd also recognize that that would continue Russian ground advances, where Russia really has an advantage over Ukraine. So Ukraine would be put in a pretty complicated position if that were the case. It may be that Trump won't accept a partial ceasefire. We really don't know. I've been struck that after the announcement of the summit, Dwayne, Trump really got on board with Europe and with Ukraine. There is real solidarity in the NATO alliance right now, and I think Putin understands that. And I also note that, as you noted in an earlier segment, when word broke out that Putin was bringing this very large delegation, Trump announced that it would not be a one-on-one, that he would have Witkoff and Rubio in the meeting as well. And so that was another show of force. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Trump, he thinks these meetings are fine, good in themselves. He doesn't view this as a concession. I know the Beltway media thinks that it's a concession just to meet with Putin. That's not how Trump views it. He really wants to get a personal sense of Vladimir Putin's mental state, his body language, how he looks, his health. That's stuff you can't find over the phone. And I think Trump is always intensely interested in kind of figuring out how the person on the other side of the table works. And he'll be able to see this. This will be their first in-person meeting since 2018.
Okay, let's shift over to the District of Columbia. You happen to be back there. It looks like you are not in the actual AEI Stasi bunker, but in a much finer backdrop, which we appreciate here on the Salem News Channel.
Yes.
But is the city safer, Matt Continetti? First of all, it's been 24 hours. It's been 36 hours. Is the city safer?
Oh, I think unqualifiedly so. Anytime you have more law enforcement on the streets, anytime you have more eyes on the streets, you make for a safer place. And so having this surge of National Guard, having the federal agents, having the Justice Department in charge of the Metro Police Department, all these things make the city safer. We've seen an increase in arrests. We've seen the homeless encampments being torn down. This is what is important for the United States Capitol. This is our capital of this great country. It shouldn't be a dangerous place to live or to visit. And it shouldn't be a place where the homeless congregate and hurt themselves more than anything through their drug and alcohol abuse.
Yes, absolutely. Brian Schwab, the Attorney General or the District Attorney for the District of Columbia, was on CNN after he announced he is filing a lawsuit against the Trump administration for their illegal takeover of the District of Columbia, which he has no grounds to do, but this is what he's claiming. Cut number 28.
And as Chief Smith has said in the papers, in her nearly 30 years of enforcing the law, both as a federal law enforcement officer and as chief of police, she has never seen any action that causes more risk to the public safety than the actions of AG Bondi last night in her Bondi order of about 7:45 at night.
That order, those actions, Matt Continetti, by Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, we are ending the sanctuary status of the District of Columbia. That's what apparently, according to the district attorney, that is what endangers citizens more than gangs and drugs and homeless people all over the place in the city. It's astounding how crazy the left is getting.
I mean, only a liberal would think that law enforcement makes people less safe. And it's the sort of curlicue logic that has made not just the District of Columbia, but so many cities run by democratic, blue, progressive machines, sites of criminality and places where people just don't feel secure in their belongings or in their person. And Trump lives in D.C. He's a D.C. resident, and he's been bothered by it. Clearly, we had this terrible case of a Capitol Hill intern being shot and killed while he was at McDonald's earlier this year.
Yeah.
We had the recent case of one of the Doge employees being brutally assaulted in the early morning hours when he tried to intervene in a carjacking. And then we just have, as someone who's worked in the city for 22 years, we have these tent encampments that have sprouted up over the past decade and just never seem to go away. Even when the city tries to take them down, they come back again. I think Trump is bothered by all this. He's decided to do something about it. And liberals have completely beclowned themselves by deciding that, no, the status quo is preferable to Trump taking action. Most Americans do not see it that way, Dwayne.
Most Americans don't see it that way. Most Americans look at this and say it's about blankety blank time that we're starting to get crime under control in a big city. Matt, I want to hold you over for one more segment if possible, because when we're talking about the left losing their mind and defending the indefensible, your podcast partner, Abe Greenwald, on this morning's commentary pod, had a very fascinating thing to say. I want to play it for the audience, get you to react to it quickly. We'll pick up with Matt Continetti on the other side of the hour with Matt Continetti of AEI. And on the Friday commentary podcast, Matt, your partner, Abe Greenwald, had a really interesting thing to say. Hugh alerted me to it earlier in the day as he was up in the attic hiding from grandkids, and excised one little bit that he wanted the audience to hear. Let's play cut number 12, Harley.
Look,
and they're all fine with it?
It's this simple. There are millions of Americans for whom any Trump success ruins their lives. It ruins their lives. And they are responding as people who have been broken by events. It started election night 2016, and they have been in a state of ruination ever since. They got a reprieve with Biden, but now they are re-traumatized. The fact that he is more popular by a significant margin than he was during his first term, more successful, more productive, won by a much more robust number. They cannot believe it. They can't understand that they are sharing the country with people who don't see things exactly as they do. And that is making them literally crazy.
Matt Continetti, case in point, Peter Baker of the New York Times, chief White House correspondent for the Times. You and I both know Peter Baker, have known him for a long time. I'm assuming you've known him for a long time, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
He is a serious reporter, or at least used to be. I don't know who Peter Baker is right now, but here's what he put on X just a couple hours ago. Washington's homicide rate is the 11th highest among large U.S. cities, but 8 of the 10 with higher rates are in red states: Mississippi, Alabama, Missouri, Tennessee, Ohio, and Louisiana. Trump has not sent National Guard to any of them. Matt, the District of Columbia doesn't have a governor. Its governor is Congress. It is a federal district. How is this so hard for him to understand?
Oh, and by the way, I think all but one of those cities
are run by
has
blue
a Democratic mayors. And
yes.
the Republican was just elected on an anti-crime platform. Look, I think Abe Greenwald was totally right on the Commentary podcast this morning. We have a pandemic of Trump derangement syndrome abroad in the land, and there is no identifiable cure for it. And so a completely legitimate action. Trump has the authority to do what he's doing in D.C. He has the authority to take over the MPD, the Metro Police. He has the authority to deploy the National Guard. It's sending people crazy and driving them to throw sandwiches at federal law enforcement.
It's intellectual leprosy. It's just bizarre to watch. Anyway, Matt Continetti, always great to talk to you. Thanks for being here. We will talk to you next week. Dwayne Patterson in for Hugh Hewitt. We'll be back with more from the summit as the pre-summit press conference is about ready to get underway. My name is Dwayne Patterson, the producer of the show. I also have a podcast of my own, Dwayne's World. Dwayne.world is one way to get to it, or DUANEworld.com. Write some columns for our sister site, hotair.com, as well. And I always get a kick out of sitting in for Hugh because there is always stuff popping in the news. You heard Donald Trump in the hour before this on a press gaggle on the back of Air Force One, saying we have the hottest country on. In fact, let's go ahead and play it again. Cut number 19.
We have the hottest country on earth. We have the hottest economy on earth. We have the hottest country. We just set a new stock market record again. We have hundreds of billions of dollars flowing in from tariffs. We're the hottest. We were a dead country, dead like doornails, a dead country. 1 year ago, we were dead as a doornail, and now we have the hottest country. And he wants a piece of that because his country is not hot economically. In fact, it's the opposite. And China's not doing well economically, but look, I want everybody to do well. The war's got to stop and the killing's got to stop.
So the fact check, he's true. We do have the hottest economy right now, 3% GDP. Wage growth is the highest it's been since the first Trump term. Wage growth is outpacing inflation for the first time since during the Biden regency for the last 4 years. The stock market, the S&P has closed at repeated all-time highs, and I'm looking at the Market right now, it looks like the Dow closed at 45,052 today. That would be an all-time high. The previous high was December 2nd of 2024. It was at 45,014. It looks like it just eked out and set a new all-time high today. And again, this is after all the experts told you that, tariff this, tariff that, it was going to cause this. This was a recession coming, all the doom and gloom. What have we gotten instead? We've gotten trade deals, and we've gotten trillions of dollars of investment into the country's infrastructure, and we've got job growth. It's actually a lot of good things going on. How does this impact you and what you do with your finances? Well, part of it should be in gold, because that's always the hedge, right? That's why we do this segment, sponsored by AmericanFederal.com. The market report, 800-221-7694, 800-221-7694, or you can go to AmericanFederal.com. Nick Grovich is the guy to talk to. I would think his phone would be ringing off the hook right now, because if the president is successful in getting some kind of a ceasefire and is on the path to some kind of a settlement and deal to get out of this war in Ukraine, what is that going to do to precious metals? Nick, is that going to climb? Right now, it lost about $25 in value today. It's still at $3,300 an ounce and change. But it was a little soft today. What's going to happen if the war is in a ceasefire? Nick's the guy to talk to. He will know all the geopolitics, the global politics, the global supply and demand, whether now is a good buy time, whether now is a good sell time. Get a hold of American Federal today, 800-221-7694. Now, let's shift gears a little bit and bring you up to speed on more of the angst in the District of Columbia. I'm going there tomorrow. I got to go do some work on Studio Beltway. And I haven't been back there in almost a year. And I remember a year ago, it was a little dicey, even going around 15th and G Streets, over by the Treasury Building and the White House. There's a great old restaurant there called the Old Ebbitt Grill. And that's one of kind of my hangs. It's, kind of lowbrow, but it's a fun restaurant. And even going around there was a little dicey, walking around the streets. And I want to go see what it's like now after we've actually had some policing going on. Of course, the district attorney of D.C., Brian Schwab, has now filed a lawsuit saying that, the feds can't do this. The federal government can't take over a federal district, a federal city that they are constitutionally charged to do, because they gave us home rule, with a clause in it that says that if you don't do it the way we want it done and there's an emergency, we can step in. It's just fascinating to see what's going on. He was on CNN last night complaining that Pam Bondi, with the stroke of a pen in an order last night, made the citizens of the District of Columbia less safe. What did she do? Well, here she is on Fox News last night with Hannity explaining exactly that. Cut number 25.
They're trying to protect criminal aliens. And what's going to happen if we keep this up? Criminals are going to flee to D.C., and we're not going to let that happen. And that's why, at my directive, we have made Terry Cole now the commissioner over the police. We have made Gaddy Serralto my U.S. Marshal. He runs the entire show, keeping everyone organized, and they report directly to me, and I report to the President of the United States. So, yes, you must comply. You must give the information to our ICE, to our Homeland Security officers. If they have information of an illegal alien living in D.C., they must give us that information. And we are going to stop crime, Sean, in D.C., and we're going to clean it up in this country. And President Trump is committed to that. No longer is that going to happen in this beautiful city where our tourists come, where our residents live. We all live here. We are going to keep it safe. And it's our nation's capital. It's beautiful, and it's going to be beautiful and clean again.
Terry Cole, the DEA administrator, is now the acting chief of police of the District of Columbia. And notice what she did there. She didn't even have to mention the name of Pamela Smith, the existing police chief of the District of Columbia. Remember the DEI hire from 3 years ago, who held a press conference with Mayor Muriel Bowser after the announcement was made that we're going to trigger Section 740 and take the district over. The question was asked of her in a press conference, so what's the chain of command here now with this new arrangement? And Chief Smith had no idea. She couldn't tell you. I have no clue I don't even know what chain of command is, and turned around and walked away and let the mayor field the question. What Pam Bondi just did here with that answer is she explained, without having to mention the chief of police, who now is the acting chief of police, commissioner of police, and what the chain of command is, going all the way from Trump down to the line level officers. She explained it in plain English. To the district attorney in D.C., this makes life much more dangerous for the citizens. You want to know what the reality is? The reality is most people, even the Democrats that live in the city, they're kind of happy about it. Listen to this, cut number 24.
D.C. will not remain a sanctuary city actively shielding criminal aliens. Will not happen. Under Donald Trump's directive, D.C. will become safe again, and it will become clean again. And I think what's happening is it's a combination of an extremely divisive city council. You have liberal judges. You have no cash bail, as you said. You have juveniles.
Let's cut it off there.
Running
the end of the cut where she gets to, the dirty, rotten little secret is citizens are going up to the new cops in the city, the National Guard, and thanking them for letting them roam around the city freely now for the first time without worrying about getting stabbed or shot or mugged. Who'd have thunk it? Policing. It's a good thing. Dwayne Patterson in for Hugh Hewitt. We'll be back right after this.
Hold it right there. I'm back from vacation. Not really. I pre-recorded this on Friday. It's my Relief Factor segment because I take Relief Factor with me on vacation just like I take it every day on this program. And we're going to remind you every hour, even when I'm out on vacation, that Relief Factor does indeed work. If you take it every single day, you will feel much better because it works with your body's anti-inflammatory system to reduce the minor aches and pains that come with exercise and aging. You should be doing the former. You're definitely doing the latter. Every day, Relief Factor means more and more to a comfortable life. Stop using the over-counter meds. Try it the old-fashioned way. Icarian curcumin with Veritron Omega. And the starter pack, $19.95, gets you 3 weeks of Relief Factor. You take 3 on the first day, every day for the first week, 2 on the second week, every day on the second week, and then 1 on the third week, and then forever after. 1-800, the number 4 in the word relief, 1-800, the number 4 in the word relief, or visit their website, relieffactor.com. Find that starter pack for $19.95, less than $1 a day at relieffactor.com.
Joined by Jonathan Williams, the president and chief economist for the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC.org, and they are good friends of ours, longtime sponsors. I've actually hosted shows on the road at some of these ALEC conferences and have gotten to know John. Welcome back to the Hugh Hewitt Show. Good to have you here, Jonathan.
Well, thanks, Dwayne. Good to be with you. What a day to be filling in today with all the news around the world.
All sorts of stuff popping, but it doesn't mean that you let go of what's going on the state level as well. You've got a lot of interesting details, including where my home state of California is ranking on the rich states, poor states map. How's the Golden State doing these days? How's In-N-Out Burger doing, John?
Well, I tell you what, if that isn't the case in point of California's problems of high taxes and high spending now for way too many years to count, In-N-Out Burger, decides to relocate the headquarters, as their owners just announced recently, to Tennessee, a state that we've talked about for many years at ALEC, a state that's moved up in rich states, poor states to number 2, second best for economic outlook, while California is perennially in the bottom 5 for economic outlook. So this is one of those, this is not a head scratcher. This is a proof is in the pudding case in point, but yet another business leaving the former Golden State for better, more rational, common sense public policy in a state like Tennessee.
Let's move up to New York for just a second, because the purported next mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, held a little press conference again yesterday and said, there's no problem when we have these public grocery stores, these publicly owned grocery stores. It's not a problem with the private sector. We'll just co-opt with them. Cut number 17.
I've actually spoken with a number of grocery store owners and made clear to them that I both recognize and appreciate the work that they have done, the fact that they are a critical part of our communities. And there's so much partnership that we can still offer those same stores in assisting them on the skyrocketing rents that they are facing, the questions of insurance, so much of that which creates instability in their business model, while also ensuring we're using every tool at our disposal to create a more affordable city for New York.
Yeah.
Jonathan Williams, nothing can go wrong there, can it?
I don't know where to start on that one. You talk about where to get to more of an affordable city. Maybe we start with government bloat and high taxes and high spending in New York City. Maybe just address the root cause. Not a sermon, just a thought, as one of the pastors here in the D.C. area likes to say. It's kind of a common sense mistake. I mean, where has this gone wrong? I mean, heck, Soviet Union or anywhere else that's tried it. It's it's very tough to think, how a mayor of America's largest city would want to move that city in such a direction. It may sound good, affordability, you have to, give him the props for having that kind of a message, but not too many socialists turn out to be people who look out for affordability at the end of the day, because they look to grow government every single time.
Last subject, and speaking of affordability, the Wall Street Journal had a story this week. And it seems like blue states are looking for new and creative ways to squeeze more blood out of the turnip of the rich people in higher taxes and fees. And now, you are the tax economist, at Tax Economist on X. What say you about this, Jonathan Williams?
Well, you tax the rich and you lose the rich is the message of now nearly 20 years of rich states, poor states. States can't build walls to keep their taxpayers or businesses there. And this is the example of why New York and California and Maryland and states that have gone down this approach have continued to hemorrhage individuals and businesses to the other states across the country. We have more than 25 states that have been aggressively cutting taxes, and you juxtapose that approach. I mean, as you've heard us talk about, we had 2 states this year, Dwayne, that have looked to start eliminating their income tax altogether to become more like Texas and Florida and Tennessee and America's growth states. So if the blue states want to continue this approach of class warfare, trying to divide people, trying to make themselves less affordable, contrary to Mr. Mamdani's claims there in New York City, this is what millionaires' taxes are going to get them. And at the end of the day, millionaires' taxes drive out the wealthy, drive out small businesses, and those states at the end of the day are left with less revenue, not more. They catch the Laffer curve where high taxes drive out those productive individuals and businesses, and at the end of the day, they're left with less, not more, when it comes to state coffers.
ALEC has a wealth of material for you, so you can kind of learn what works and what doesn't work at the state level. The Rich States, Poor States book is the best place to start. How can people get a hold of that, John?
richstatespoorstates.org. You can see how your state ranks, and you can even play around with it to see what if our state had a bad millionaire's tax, and how bad would that make our ranking? How many states are going to compete with New York at number 50?
richstatespoorstates.org. Jonathan, I can't wait to see you. I think we're going to be out there. I think we're going to be out there in December. You guys are going to be in Texas, right? Is that where the conference is going to be?
Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah, come see us the first week of December. It's going to be America's one of the largest gathering conservatives across the country this year, and we're going to be reflecting on a great year in the States once again.
Can't wait. Can't wait to see what goes on out there, especially after Texas has played around with this whole redistricting thing this year. Jonathan Williams at Tax Economist, richstatespoorstates.org. Thank you very much, and we will talk to you very, very soon. So I keep looking back at the screen to see when the pre-summit joint press conference takes place. This is the two-podium shot. With the screen behind it, Pursuing Peace, that was designed by Donald Trump's team as well. It's kind of hard for Vladimir Putin to stand behind a podium with a backdrop of Pursuing Peace if you're not there to actually do just that. It's Donald Trump is setting the optics around, in addition to squeezing him on economic through tariffs and other sanctions regimes, to kind of force Vladimir Putin's hand and get him to the table so we can stop this war and come to a resolve and get on with whatever it is that we really should be getting on with. I want to play just one more clip quickly of Donald Trump from the gaggle on Air Force One. He was asked about what security guarantees might there be for Ukraine in this deal. Cut number 22.
Just one thing. What about the possibility of the United States providing security guarantees to Ukraine?
Maybe. Along with Europe and other countries. Not in the form of NATO, because that's not going to, there are certain things that aren't going to happen. But, along with Europe, there's a possibility.
There's possibilities, but, Trump is actually playing this about right. He's in full contact with the leaders of the European Union, all the European country leaders, and his goal is not to tell Ukraine, you've got to give up this land, or tell Russia, you've got to do this land. That's not what he's trying to do. The two of them are going to have to solve that out. What Trump's doing today is to see if we can get to that part two, where the two won't just, kill each other. If they can actually come to some kind of a deal and do the overture. That's what today's all about. It may take several hours, and we'll see, but it's high-stakes poker in Elmersdorf Air Force Base. My golly, do I love this band. A little more Goose music from a brand new album. Was it Something Your Dragon? Train Your Dragon, Curb Your Dragon? Something like that. Anyway, Chain Your Dragon. Just came out. I don't even know all the songs on it yet. Dwayne Patterson in for Hugh. We are standing by for the Pursuing Peace pre-summit conference, joint press conference. I don't expect it to be long. It'll probably be a couple questions each, a statement each, and then they're going to say, okay, we got work to do, and they're going to leave and go off and do things. But if they have something to say, we are watching the feed, and as soon as they take the podiums, we will jump in live and bring that to you here on the Salem News Channel and the Salem Radio Network. One of the things I wish they would talk about, which is probably not super high on their list, is all of the hacking and phishing and malware stuff that originates from Russia and just makes life difficult and chaotic here. Fortunately, even though they're not going to probably talk about that, they've got bigger things to deal with. You at least have the gold standard to be able to rely on to help counter a lot of that malicious online activity. Webroot.com is the place to go. In fact, it's webroot.com/Hewitt, where you can get 50% off the total protection package or Webroot Essentials when you go to webroot.com/Hewitt. Look, ID theft happens every 2 seconds in this country. Every 2 seconds. Do you just want to roll the dice and wait until you've got to deal with it and somebody's got your driver's license, your social security number, your identification, and starts racking up charges in your name, stuff that you have no idea what it is, makes all sorts of commitments that you can't control? It will take you hundreds of hours to unscramble that. But that's what Webroot does. It is one of the finest online prevention pieces of software out there to protect your data online, your identity online. Webroot.com/Hewitt. Check it out, webroot.com/Hewitt. I want to get my other plug in now as well, just so that we're freed up when this press conference starts, and that's consumercellular.com. Hugh has a brand new phone. In fact, his new consumercellular.com/Hugh bat phone, I don't even have the number to that, and I'm his professional spouse. He's got the fetching Mrs. Hewitt that he's been married to for 40 years or however long it's been. But for the last 25 years, I've been the work spouse. I'm the one that tries to keep him out of trouble. I'm the one that has to talk to him all the time. And I don't even have that number. One of the reasons why he got this phone and this special line, this unlimited data line, consumercellular.com/Hugh, is because he doesn't have to answer a phone call from me. Only his family has that. And I'm a lot of things, but I'm not family. Maybe you are in a position where you need a second line, an inner line of defense, so you don't have to worry about all the work calls. That's when you check out what your long distance currently is and whether you're using all the data, and see if a second line makes sense. If so, consumercellular.com/Hugh is the place to go, because you'll get $25 off when you use the passcode Hugh25. That's Hugh25. Or you can call 800-411-4454. That's 800-411-4454. And you can get a $5 credit on your first 5 monthly invoices. Check it out, consumercellular.com, consumercellular.com/Hugh, and remember Hugh25. One other piece of business we're going to get to after the break, unless, of course, this press conference starts. Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, was on Fox News as well yesterday and had an updated piece of information about the Obama team, the Obama intelligence team, the Jim Clapper and James Comey and John Brennan's, the Nosferatu of American intelligence, and what they did to help create the Russiagate nonsense. What they found in burn bags is going to blow you away. Why this scandal isn't the biggest scandal in the history of the country, maybe along with the one covering up Joe Biden's cognitive decline for 4 years, is beyond me. It shouldn't be, because it is leftist media. But my gracious, is this scandal getting worse and worse by the day. If you actually want to see the news and listen to what's actually going on, which you will, the Pursuing Peace pre-summit press conference is moments away. We don't know how many moments that is. Both principals are where they need to be. It looks loosely to me like the press is kind of starting to mill about and assemble in their seats. There's a couple of reporters that are standing up and taking, pictures of the stage, because it's going to be a momentous thing when it starts, and we're hopeful to catch some of that for you here. If not, I know virtually every one of the stations on the Salem Radio Network and the Salem News Channel will be covering this, even if it doesn't start while we're on the air. But I promised you before the break, Kash Patel and what he discovered in some burn bags in regards to the Clinton administration's intelligence team and their culpability in the Russiagate fabrication. Cut number 26.
Sean, I was blown away, but sadly, it's come to be expected in this town when corrupt bureaucrats weaponize and destroy law enforcement like predecessors of mine did at the FBI. And thankfully, Donald Trump's mandate and election victory was for transparency and accountability. Sean, just think about this for a second. Not only did we expose the Russiagate hoax with the greats like Devin and Trey and Johnny Ratcliffe when we were back there in the House Intel Committee excavating and exposing the FISA abuses, the corruption of political parties, and the lies to a federal court just to illegally surveil a presidential candidate. I come in then years later, nearly a decade as a director of the FBI, thinking we uncovered most of it. But sadly, we found a room locked away in the Hoover building that contained burn bags. And just for your audience, Sean, A burn bag is a government bag that is specifically created to destroy classified evidence and shred and burn it. Hence the name burn bag. We didn't find one, we found 7. That wasn't the only thing we found in there. We found hard drives from our predecessors and prior FBI leadership. And folks like Page, Strzok, Comey, McCabe, Comey, the list goes on from Russiagate. The names were strewn all over these materials. Now, as our great Attorney General just told you, we can't deny or confirm what we're looking at, but what we can discuss is what we've publicly disclosed. And these documents have been publicly disclosed because the greatest way to educate and bring along the American public for transparency, initiative, and accountability under President Trump is to give them the documents. And step 1 is by cleaning house inside the walls of Hoover.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, do I want this to be so. Would I love to see this kind of justice come forward and this kind of exposure to come forward and get to the bottom of it. I've been doing this line of work for about 30 years, going back to 95. And you develop a healthy dose of cynicism after that amount of time, that there are some people that are just too big to fall. I hope the Clintons aren't that. I hope Barack Obama isn't that. It would be nice if they were culpable in fabricating a myth to sabotage the next administration. That seems kind of unkosher to me, and I would love to see that see the light of day. So more, please, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. I want to go back before this press conference gets going. Again, it could happen any minute. We've kind of got one eye on you guys and one eye on the backdrop from Alaska. Donald Trump, the bottom line for Donald Trump is he knows what Vladimir Putin's up to and what his goal is by bringing all these Russian businessmen to the summit, unexpectedly, at least to the White House. But Donald Trump answered this question in a way to talk to the American people, but also signal back to Vladimir Putin to not waste his time. Cut number 23.
At this meeting,
if we make progress, I would discuss it, because that's one of the things that they would like. They'd like to get a piece of what I built in terms of the economy. Just so you know, we were a dead country with our economy. He wouldn't be interested. He wouldn't have been interested a year ago with the Biden economy. But he is interested in the Trump economy, because we're doing. Wait till you see when those factories start opening up. We have hundreds of factories all over the country, and that includes auto factories, AI factories, and every other. They're all coming in because they want to beat the tariffs. Because if they open here, they don't have to pay tariffs. If they don't open here, they have to pay, in some cases, 200%, 300%. I haven't even set some of the tariffs yet. I'll be setting tariffs next week and the week after on steel and on, I would say, chips. Chips and semiconductors. We'll be setting sometime next week, week after.
I love the fact that Brett Baer is in the backdrop over Trump's right shoulder, peeking in, listening in, trying to glean any other information that he didn't already get in his one-on-one. I want to play one more clip from media because it's just so ridiculous how media is treating things. We had a good economic report today. Retail sales are up 0.5%, 3.9% annually, almost 4%. They revised June's retail spending numbers up because the data showed that the economy and American confidence, American consumers' confidence, is higher than previously thought. Pamela Brown, the anchor on CNN, decided to trash the report and throw cold water on it before throwing it to her financial expert, Vanessa Yurkovich, who listened to the setup and completely undermined everything that CNN had to say. Cut number 29.
The Commerce Department is reporting that retail sales went up by 0.5 percentage points last month, but American consumers are feeling less confident despite low unemployment rates. So let's go live now to CNN business and politics correspondent Vanessa Yurkovich. Vanessa, what story do these numbers tell?
It essentially tells us that the consumer is feeling resilient in the face of tariff headwinds. This is a solid report. This showed that consumers were willing to open their wallets, and it's important because consumer spending drives about 70% of U.S. GDP growth. The numbers really signal a solid report here. You have a half a percentage point in terms of retail spending in the month of July, and then year-over-year spending up almost 4%. And this really indicates that consumers are willing to spend and maybe also trying to still get ahead of some of those higher tariff rates that hit this month. Also, it signals that businesses, maybe up until now, have been absorbing much of those price increases because of tariffs. And if you look at this bar chart, you can see now that we've had two continuous months
of good news. Sad trombones for poor Pamela Brown. Too bad. Things are actually getting better. I want to say a quick thanks to Harley and Adam for keeping me out of trouble today. Adam just told me during the break that they panned out just for a second in that pre-summit press conference room, and the room was still empty. The reporters haven't filed in yet, so it's certainly not going to get started at the earliest until the top of the hour, which gives us time to get the poem of the weekend from the poet laureate of the Hugh Hewitt Show, Tarzana Joe. Joe, so many things to talk about. What would you like to cover today in verse?
My job, if you can call it a job, is to summarize the news of the week. But the problem with Donald Trump is the news of the week is never over at the end of the week. So we'll just have to go what's happened so far. Democrats are sure to face some voting booth estrangement, something that the pundits blame on Donald Trump derangement. Now, I'm a wretched skeptic, so allow me to confess. I believed in Santa Claus, but not in TDS. Every politician that has reached a party's pinnacle are too focused on their causes to succumb to something clinical. But Democratic leadership is chronically incensed. Whatever Orange Don is for, they all come out against. Not too many months ago, we all had heard the joke. If he supported equity, they'd all go anti-woke. If he made war on poverty and showed the world he cares, even Bernie Sanders would come out for billionaires. Cracking down on DC crime now has the donkey bugged. If he's for public safety, they would rather all be mugged. If he achieves a treaty, the guy is only lucky. If they give him the Nobel Prize, the Nobel Prize is sucky. I don't cry for Democrats. I don't need Kleenex tissues. They pick themselves the losing side of 80-20 issues. That's TDS by Tarzana Joe.
A grand ode, Joe. That is tremendous. I mean, if Donald Trump came out today and said, that's it, I'm pro-Ukraine, 100% Ukraine, anything they want, anything that flies goes to Ukraine. If he were to say that, the left would turn on Ukraine overnight. I mean, it's that reflexive.
It would seem they would try to find a way to do it. I don't know if they could bend themselves that far and backwards, but they try. They try to find an angle. He's only doing it because we forced him to, and it's not enough, and it's too late. And call us tomorrow when we figure it out.
TarzanaJoe.com is where you go, and there's a button at the top that says, I want a poem. If you want to hire Joe, his rates are reasonable. His work is stellar. You can also email him, TarzanaJoe at Reagan.com. That's TarzanaJoe at Reagan.com. How's business, Joe?
Business is booming. It's wonderful. It's fine. I'm writing a wedding blessing. I'm actually writing something for someone who's officiating a wedding, which is kind of a first, and I'm looking forward to that challenge.
Well, that's fun. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. We will talk to you next week. Hugh will be back in this chair on Monday. He'll actually be in this chair in about 10 minutes with the next Hillsdale Dialogue with Dr. Larry Arnn. I will be back in the producer room where I belong, and we will keep it posted to the Salem News Channel and the Salem Radio Network for all things Russia. Have a great weekend. We'll see you later.